Hey there, this is Zach with SweetCG. We have a new informal tutorial video on our new hockey support. It's finally here, but it's a work in progress. We have some things to do still, but it's complete enough to where we can release it. So we have this informal training video to cover what's new and how to run the basic hockey controls, and then we'll replace it with something a little more formal once all of the hockey features are in place. And those features mostly relate to penalty clocks and things like that. So um, for those of you who are new to SweetCG, I just want to give you a quick rundown. Over here on the left side of the screen is where we can control all of the game data, the game status, team names, things like that. Over here on the right is where we can control the free graphics packages that are included with SweetCG Multisport Scoreboard. Those are generated as an NDI feed into a production system that will accept NDI sources. And so many do now. I'm not even going to try to list them. But then we also have solutions using like NDI Studio Monitor to output on an HDMI of an extended monitor of a laptop to get into like hardware switchers. And we have all sorts of tutorials on all of that. And then additionally, we have the ability to export all of this data to an XML or CSV file for a third-party character generator. Our built-in graphics are not customizable to where you can design your own graphics, but you can create graphics in third-party character generators, and if they can support the use of third-party data, we can write all of our game data out to an XML or CSV file, and that third-party character generator can read it. Some of the quick configuration options that we do have in our graphics, most buttons, well, all buttons you can right click, and many of them have configuration options. So you can right click and then you can decide, oh, I'm not going to use the clock. I'm a one-man band today. I'm not going to be able to do that. And then the clock disappears. And I don't want this tagline up there or the marquee. So you can tweak the score bug to your needs. I am going to also, you can scale it down if you want, if you don't like the size that we make as default. I'm actually going to increase it here for the purpose of the training video so you can see all of the details in our little preview monitor here. So, well, I've already gone to through the steps to import one of our two sample roster files. We include these just so you can get comfortable with the controls. A lot of this data is optional, but I have it all filled out. Rosters are optional as well, but for hockey, for this training video to do like the penalties and the headshots and stuff, you need them. So, okay, hockey controls. Our screen is split into three columns here. We have the away team, the home team, and then in the center, we have the game clock and the period. And then down here is where we're going to add some additional controls for the penalty clock type stuff. Now, what we're going to see here is when we click a goal for the team, we're going to be prompted with a to select a player who got the goal. Now, if you don't have a roster loaded, you can just cancel out of this. And if you don't even want to do it, even though you have a roster, you can still cancel out. So I'm just going to assign it to Mr. James Hupp. And now you can see down here in this headshots tab, his information appears. I'm going to do this one more time, and then I'm just going to assign it to him real quick, and then so I can close that tab. And then you can see once you click the goal button, the animation for the goal appears on the score bug, and then it goes for like 5 seconds, and then it disappears. And when we did that, you'll see it also added a shot on goal. Then you can also add just shots on goal by themselves. You can add saves, which will also do a shot on goal for the opposite team. And then we have face-offs 1, which is kind of a free-floating stat. If you want to do, say, hits or some other stat, you can do that. You would come over here to the session editor.
We have a whole tutorial series on the session editor, so I'm not going to go into it in too much detail. Context values, scroll down, and it's this counters 8 and 9. You can change that to hits or whatever other stat you want, and then these two buttons would change to that value. And these are free floating, so this particular stat is not affected by any of these other buttons, nor will clicking this button affect any of those other stats. So it's isolated. So I assign 2 goals to this player here. I want to take one out, so I'm going to come over here to line score and stat correction. And then here, I'm going to subtract a goal. And then I'm going to take out a shot on goal as well. Then I'm going to come back over here. So now let's say we wanted to display this player after their goal. So once there's a player listed here, then you can come over to our graphics control and select visit player. And then that automatically comes up and it times out after I think 7 seconds. You can change that by right clicking and changing the timer. Yeah, so the timer is set for 7 seconds, so it'll automatically disappear. So, but then let's say someone got a great block and you wanted to show a headshot for them. Well, then you could just click this button here, assign it to the new guy, click the button for the player, and there it is. So that's what we have with that. Now let's go on to the penalties and power plays. So what we've got, we have several different things you can do with these. So if there's, I'm going to start with the delayed penalty. Let's say there's a delayed penalty. You can click this button. And oops, I think I clicked it twice. There we go. So you'll notice the button changes red, and then you can see this delayed penalty tab that appears here. And that'll happen over here for the other team as well. And then once the penalty is assigned, that tab will go away. So we have 2 different buttons here. Let's say there's 2 players getting a fight and it's a coincidental minor and they both go to their penalty boxes, and then other players come out to fill their spot on the ice. In that situation, you would assign a penalty to both teams, and that's not going to do anything as far as power plays or anything like that, because they're still evenly matched on the ice. Now, if there's a situation where a player does have to go to the penalty box and the team goes down a player, you would select the penalty for the team that got the penalty, and then that is going to subtract the number of players on the ice. It's going to also add a penalty for them. Now you can see over here we have a tab that shows power play for the opposite team. Let's say 2 players went out. You would click that button a second time, and now we have power play 5-on-3. If a player then returns to the ice, you would click player return to ice, and now they go up to 4, and now we just have power play. Excuse me. Now, let's say there's a power play penalty on the other team as well. You would click that, and now they're evenly matched, so there's no power play per se. So now we have this center tab that shows on ice 4-on-4. Now if it becomes 4-on-3 with the visiting team having the power play, that tab automatically disappears and power play appears over there. And then as they return to the ice, eventually that will go away, and then the marquee will reappear when the power plays are no longer in place, assuming you have the marquee in place or activated to display. Then we also have manned net, empty net. You click that, it's going to also change red as an indicator to you, and that tab will appear there. So lastly, I should have done this before the empty net. When there's power plays or any player goes to the penalty box, if you want to show a headshot for them, we have here we have the ability to assign a player to these different slots. So right now I've got this Aaron McCoy. He is in the first penalty slot. And once he's there, then you can click, we have these two buttons over here for visit penalty box. And it's a smaller, little compact lower third. And the reason we do that is because we can get pretty complex with it. So let's say there's two players. Now we can show that again. And now it goes side by side. Then let's say we have two players on the other team. Now we have this other graphic, and it appears there. And these can be shown one at a time or at the same time. And the graphics will automatically maneuver to accommodate whether one player, actually let's do this. So one player is there. Now we've also added this clear button. And so when players are no longer in the penalty box, you'll want to clear them out so that you don't show this later in the game, put a new player in the first slot, but there's still a player in the second slot. You don't want both of them to appear. So that's what we've got for penalties. We'll be adding things for the clock cameras. Let me quick show you what we've got there. I don't have a clock feed in place right now, but we have this ability to point a camera at a scoreboard, and then you can crop out the clock. We're going to add additional tabs here, 4 more tabs for the 2 penalty clocks from each team. And when those are activated, you'll have the ability to see those clocks here. And then select which clock you want to show in certain circumstances. And then we're also going to look at how we might be able to add like a digital clock that counts down when the game clock goes. So that's what we've got. Check it out. Let us know what you think. And over the next couple weeks, we'll continue to be adding the additional penalty clock features as we go. But this should be enough for people to get started with hockey games as hockey season is starting up. Thank you for watching, and looking forward to seeing you guys using this hockey support for SweetCG Multi-Sport Scoreboard.